Hello and welcome to tjburdick.com. I am here alongside, well, not really alongside, I'm here actually across state from the great state of Michigan to the Auxiliary Bishop of the Archdiocese of Detroit, Auxiliary Bishop Donald Hanchon, who just happens to be, I call him my uncle, but he's actually my father's cousin. So yeah, welcome, Uncle Don.
Thank you. Good to be with you, TJ.
You are the titular bishop of, now, correct me for my pronunciation, I'm going to try it, Margum.
That's great. Yes.
All right.
As I understand it, it's a place in modern-day Bulgaria. There are not many Catholic places there. I understand there are some Orthodox places, but a lot of Muslims as well. So I really would love to go and visit it someday, though.
Could you elaborate a little bit more on what a titular bishop is, or what
Oh,
that
yeah,
means?
sure. Yeah. Well, back at the now, to my understanding, this goes back to the Council of Trent, where there were bishops of places, or someone would be ordained a bishop and not given a local church, given some sort of responsibility. But the Council of Trent made it very clear that bishops should have a diocese, and it became so important that they would give them the honorary, if you will, title to a diocese that once existed and now doesn't exist.
Could you share some words on the importance of Hispanic ministry in the church?
Well, I surely could. uh, they're the largest immigrant group, and they keep growing. And of all the immigrant groups, they're ones who are they bring values that are profoundly Catholic, so they ought to be familiar to us. And they need they have families. They have larger families than many native folks, and so they have kids who need ministry. So if this group, this very significant immigrant group, is going to do what other immigrant groups over the course of our history have done in the church, we better attend to them. We better take care of them. But if the Catholic Church that they experience in a parish is not very friendly or welcoming, or insists that they first have to speak English before they can be attended to, that's not been our history. Back in the teens and 20s, the U.S. was just really profoundly involved in ministry to Italians and to Germans and to uh, all different kinds of groups. And for the first generation at least, they needed to provide worship and education in their native language. Now, the native language, fades away over time, but when people say, "Gee, they should speak English," well, of course they should. If they're going to advance in their job, of course they need to have a command of English. But it takes some time, and their kids will pick it up quickly, and do. Um, but when it comes time to say your prayers, there's something about saying them in the language you learned them in. And so the church has done that for every immigrant group in the United States. And so now it's time to do it for the Spanish speaking from all these different countries that they come.
According to recent studies, the biggest rise in vocations here in the U.S. has occurred in the permanent diaconate. Priestly vocations and women religious vocations are slightly down. Why do you think this is occurring?
Well, I would say my first and honest answer is that there's been so many cultural changes. I think even back to 1974 when I was ordained a priest, and the years previously, I grew up in the 50s and 60s, and there was a different culture. There was a much more Catholic culture that encouraged young men to think about vocations to the priesthood or religious life, and nowadays it's very uncommon for that to be the case. And if a young man feels drawn that way, he doesn't encounter the same reaction from his family that I did. Um, the current vocation director in Detroit tells me that he's used to hearing candidates at the seminary say to him that when they shared with their family that they were drawn to the priesthood, they were told, "Oh, no, 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 you don't want to be a priest. They're not happy," or and trying to be talked out of, or we want grandkids, so you can't do that. And so I never got that reaction from my parents. They were very encouraged. They said, well, if that's what you feel called to do, go to the seminary and find out and try it out and see what you think. But if you find out it's not, come on back home and that's good. You'll know that that's not what you were called to do. So that's the primary difference between then and now. The permanent diaconate, of course, didn't exist back until the Second Vatican Council. So it was renewed from 1,000 years before, and I think many were drawn to it because it was something that they weren't used to. But the living of the vocation of permanent diaconate has developed, I think, in the intervening 30, 40 years, that it isn't just something that you do in the sanctuary. It isn't about putting on vestments and proclaiming the gospel and distributing communion. Deacons are really supposed to embody the service ministry of the church in a way. And so nowadays you find men drawn to the permanent diaconate who wish to be the face of the church outside the sanctuary. Like, it's almost like you earn your right to be in the sanctuary by what you do the other 6 days of the week. I would like guys in their 30s to be thinking about this. I hope that as parishes become better at reaching people and getting the gospel to them, I think you're going to find more. You're going to find families sort of like the one I grew up in, where your faith really is a part of your life, and if a son or a daughter says, I really am thinking about becoming a priest or becoming a sister, they're going to receive a more favorable response of support from their parents, which needs to happen. I really think it does need to happen.
Please tell us what it means to be Catholic in today's culture.
It's more of a challenge to live our Catholic Christian vocation. It's a challenging thing to live your faith and to be public and professing it. Just in the United States, the one of the effects of the Health and Human Service ruling is that the impression that a Catholic might get from the administration and from government sources is that you're free to be whatever religion you like, but leave it in the sanctuary. Don't bring it out on the street. It's got no place in public policy, and that's very different from our founding fathers, who thought that religion was a good thing and made sure that people were able to practice whatever their faith was without interference from the government. And so that's the other thing that's new about our culture today, is that you have to be more bold, I think, or more committed to fully live your faith in the way I think that it's meant to be lived.
Well, rumor mill tells us that our diocese will be looking for a bishop soon. What are the odds that we might see you around the Diocese of Grand Rapids in a much more ecclesiastical way?
Well, I don't know. I suppose it could happen. I used to joke. I told my friends, I said my previous joke was that Detroit's greatest export was its bishops, because most of our Detroit auxiliaries, left here and went and got dioceses of their own, like your current bishop, Bishop Hurley. So it could happen. I don't know. I don't foresee that happening, but it could.
Well, God's will be done, not my own. However, we'll keep the prayers up, and hopefully our papal nuncio can hear them.
There you go. Well, I mean, if I have to leave Detroit, Grand Rapids would be a fine place to end up, because it's not too far away, and I wouldn't have to, relocate a whole entirely new set of friends. Plus, it's a beautiful part of the state. I know that, and I've got family there.
Exactly.